Hi everybody and welcome to Ruby's Classic Cooking. Today I'm making biscuits, baking powder biscuits, and I'm going to make some for strawberry shortcake and some for biscuits to eat with dinner. Anyway, all the same batch. I'm just going to cut some small and some large. So I've got my 3-inch biscuit cutter here, which is 7.5 centimeters, and this one isn't marked, so it's considerably smaller though, and this will make nice dinner sized biscuits when it's done. Now I've got in here 2 cups of all-purpose flour, which would be hard flour or bread flour in the United States and in the UK. And I also have my baking powder biscuits, not baking soda, baking powder, and salt. Very simple ingredients. I've got shortening over here and 1 cup of milk. Now I always use homogenized milk, so it just adds a little bit of extra butter fat to your recipe, and I find it gives you a better result. I'm preheating my oven over here back of me, because you have to have a nice hot oven. That's one thing you want to do with biscuits, is you want them to be hot. Go in there hot and boom. 425 Fahrenheit, and oh my, I'll have to look up how much that is in Celsius, but all of the Celsius will be in the description below. So anyway, I am going to do 4 teaspoons of baking powder into these biscuits. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1 teaspoon of salt. And 1 teaspoon of salt. And 1 teaspoon of salt. I'm just going to stir these together with my fork just to blend them together. You can sift them together if you happen to own such a thing as a sifter, but you can just stir them together so that they become one. There you go. All right. Some tricks about making good biscuits. When you're making good biscuits, you don't want to over knead them or over handle them, because if you do, they'll get tough. You want nice, tender, fluffy biscuits that are going to rise and be nice and tall and light and airy. And that's what puts the air into them. The loft is the heat from your oven and not over handling them. Okay, so I've got my flour and my baking powder and my salt in here all mixed together. And then I'm going to add into that 1/2 cup of shortening. So I'm going to dump that into here. And then you can either use a pastry blender, they call it, which is this odd looking piece of equipment here. This is a pastry blender. I like the ones with the solid right here. Some of them have wires that are attached separately, which really are more flimsy than this. You can still buy them out there. They're kind of rare, but you can also use 2 knives, and you just kind of chop scissor fashion with them in here to blend in your fat into your flour, your baking powder mixture, your flour mixture. Well, I'm just going to blend this around like this, and when it's in supposed to look like coarse, flaky, kind of like coarse breadcrumbs when you're done. Sure it's well integrated into the flour, because this is important when you're doing your biscuits, because that is going to make them rise nicely. This is part of the chemistry part of it. Right now you're not going to make your biscuits tough by mixing these together, but once you've added that liquid, be very careful how much you stir, how much you mix, because that's when you can make your biscuits tough and unpalatable. So anyway, let's get these all done up here. I'm going to make about 6 big biscuits for strawberry shortcake. Now I already made strawberry shortcake using sponge cake for a base, but this time I'm going to use biscuits for a base. So I'm going to have 2 videos up strawberry shortcake 1 and strawberry shortcake 2. And this will be strawberry shortcake 2. So, but these will also be for dinner tomorrow. So anyway, I'll show you what they look like. And you just use the same batch of biscuit dough. Now, if you want your biscuits a little sweeter, you can take them and add like just a little sprinkle of sugar on top of them before you bake them, and that will give your biscuits a little more sweetness. Or you could add a little sugar. You notice I didn't put any sugar in this bowl because there's no sugar in this recipe. But you could add a couple of tablespoons of sugar, or maybe even 1 tablespoon of sugar to this batch if you're making them for strawberry shortcake base and you want your biscuits to be a little bit sweeter. Personally, I think we get enough sugar in our lives as it is. We probably shouldn't be adding more that we don't need to. I mean, we're going to add sugar to the whipping cream. When we whip the whipping cream, and the strawberries have lots of natural sweetness. And if I mash them, I'm probably going to add a little bit of sugar to them when I mash them. So there's going to be lots. They're going to be really nice and sweet as it is. So personally, I try not to add extra sugar, especially white refined sugar, to my cooking if it's not called for in the recipe and if I don't feel I need it, because I have kind of a food allergy to sugar if I eat too much of it, so I just try to avoid it whenever I can. Anyway, that's looking pretty well like what I'm looking for. Now, I'll just give you a quick peek at that, what that looks like. You want to make sure all of your shortening has been integrated, that there's no lumps. Shortening in here that are not integrated to your flour. Oh, you're doing this there. Now, when I add my milk to this, I'm just going to use my fork to mix it with. I'm not going to use this anymore because I have now blended my pastry together. This is great for making pie crust, by the way, and it's also fantastic for making your biscuits. Anyway, there's what it looks like. You see, kind of a crumbly, crummy looking mixture. Okay, and that didn't take very long, did it? Now, make a little well in the middle, and I'm just going to pour in my milk, my 1 cup of milk, cold from the refrigerator. I'm just going to stir this up very gently with as few strokes as possible, because this is where you can pick up your toughness for your biscuits. You have to be careful now because you've added the milk. Now you just want to just integrate your milk into your mixture that's in your bowl. You want them to be light but not sticky, so you just have to be. It's a little bit of a experience knowing when your biscuits are ready. Now you get a little bit here in the bottom of your bowl. Make sure you make sure you add that into your main. Oh, there goes my oven. Make sure you add that into the main batch of your biscuits here. Don't leave any crumbs of flour in the bottom of your bowl. Now, see how that looks on my fork? Yeah, it's kind of nice and added. It's kind of nice dough there. It's kind of a nice soft dough looking. There now. I'm just going to give these about 7 or 8 kneads on my board here, on my countertop here. Just kind of integrate this first with my hand. Just integrating this into one lump like this. Make it into one ball. And then I'm just going to put this on the counter. I'm just going to knead this just a little bit, just a few little pats here to bring it into one cohesive piece. It's a little bit sticky. That's okay. You just want to do it just enough to bring the dough together into one piece. You don't want to overhandle it. Okay. Now, I'm just going to pat this down. You can use your rolling pin, but I find you just need to pat it down with your hand. About a 1/2 inch, which should be about Oh, 1¼ centimeters, I guess. How thick you leave this depends on how thick you want your biscuits to be. If you want nice high biscuits, leave this thick. And if you want them a little lower, then you just want to make this a little lower. Now, I'm going to cut up a ½ dozen biscuits. With these nice big ones like this. Just a quick wiggle down with the biscuit cutter. 4. And if I have to make another batch of biscuits, oh dear, I will. Okay, I'm just going to gather my dough back up again, and I'm going to cut up my other two big biscuits here. That is definitely a little thicker than it should be, but at this point I'm not adding more flour to it. If it's a little sticky, I'll just grin and bear it. Let's cut another couple of little biscuits here, well, big biscuits here. There we go. There we go. 2 more biscuits. That's a ½ dozen big biscuits. Small biscuit cutter. Because there's going to be 4 of us tomorrow for dinner, so we can use the big biscuits for the shortbread, for the shortcake, and the small biscuits for dinner. Or if we don't need all of the big biscuits, well, we'll just use some of those for dinner, right? We have to be adaptable that way, right? Alrighty. There we go. Now I'm going to pop these in my oven, and I'll be back after they're cooked to show you what these lovely biscuits turned out, how they turned out in the oven. And here are my beautiful biscuits, hot out of the oven. 12 minutes at 425 degrees Fahrenheit. 12 to 15 minutes it says in the recipe. But these are 12 minutes, and I'm just going to scoop these off. Small ones and big ones, they all fit on my oven together. So you see how much taller they are now than they are when they went into the oven. Very much doubled in height from what they were when they went in the oven. So there we go. I'm using my stoneware cookie sheet for these. It also makes an excellent biscuit baker. Biscuit baker. Anyway. Alright, well that concludes my recipe for today. This recipe comes from my Purity cookbook. It's my newer old Purity cookbook. And I'm going to be putting this in the description file on the bottom of the page underneath of this video. I hope you enjoyed this video today, and I hope you'll like my channel and subscribe, and I hope you'll come back and watch me to see what I'm cooking again next time on Ruby's Classic Cooking. Bye for now.